The first connection that I had with the LSO was, I think, Star Wars. I think that's right. And I remember preparing the score at 20th Century Fox here in Hollywood, saying to the late music director, Lionel Newman, music director of Fox Studios at that time, saying to him that I thought the score actually should have a symphony orchestra. We need to have of that proportion, and we would normally have engaged freelance players to do that, as we would do in Hollywood typically. And I remember Lionel Newman saying to him, well, why not get an established, credited, well-known orchestra? Why not the London Symphony? How wonderful. Could they possibly be available to do a thing like this? And we rang them up, and it was a miraculous find to discover that there could be time in their schedule to do a series of recordings like this.
I've worked so many times with LSO, I've actually forgotten how many projects we've worked together. Whether it's a small chamber score or whether it's an enormous symphonic requirement, that you get the same incredible high standard and incredible enthusiasm and commitment to it.
When I actually had the opportunity to work with the major orchestra, my first thought was going to the LSO and using the horn section primarily for the horns. And of course by that point John Williams had sort of used them a great deal on Star Wars.
I think I remember the very first day of recording the main title of Star Wars, the very opening notes with the great trumpet blast from Maurice Murphy, the famous trumpeter who I was later told was doing his very first engagement with the orchestra that morning. So that's quite a memorable moment for us, all of the Star Wars group, and musicians who, particularly brass players, who remember Maurice and have such great affection for him. So that was the beginning, that Star Wars, the beginning of my relationship with the LSO.
You know that the standard of playing is going to be just world class.
You have to remember who their resident conductor is, the resident conductors have been, who their current conductor is. I mean, the people that they have played under, and here you are, a nobody, standing in front of this group, and they're treating you with the same respect as they treat Leonard Bernstein or they treat whoever, you know, and it's very humbling.
You never felt any condescension from the orchestra. Whatever the level of the repertoire, whatever the level of the conductor would be great to acceptable. The spirit and the willingness to play and to make music has always been friendly, expert, practiced, and all of this genuine. So making them an ideal orchestra for the broad range of tasks, film being only one of them.
When I started to write the score for Shadowlands, and I was trying to write it in the tradition of English orchestral music, and we talked about the recording, and Dickie said to me one of his ambitions had always been to work with the LSO, and I said, I'm sure the LSO won't want to work with me, but anyway, in the event they did, and you know, life is very often people think of moments in life as being achievements, but actually moments in life are generally experiences. And when I stood in Abbey Road Studios in front of the LSO and they played the end titles to Shadowlands, that was one of the greatest moments of my life, just to hear the orchestra, because they have such a wonderful sound, and I don't know, I just felt that my music had been blessed by the LSO, and that was a great thing for me.
Film music needs some very, very precise things. One is tremendous precision. Two, the ability to sight read incredibly well, because people forget that a composer brings to an orchestra a piece of music for film that's never been played or seen before. So the musicians get put in front of them new music that is sometimes extraordinarily difficult, perhaps sometimes on the verge of unplayable. and they are expected to sight read it beautifully with 1 or 2, 3 rehearsals and record it stunningly. And that is a huge demand on anybody.
They know the level of commitment that goes into the work that I write and to other composers, and they know the stresses and strains that go along with it. And what you need, finally, at the end of it, is 100% of a team that's very, very supportive.
It's a art, it's a skill that is absolutely imperative, but very few people have it. And the LSO does have it as a collective group because they've been doing it for so long.
I think the LSO is rightfully known for great diversity and a great list of skills. To begin with, sight reading, the quickness of the orchestra to absorb and understand and assimilate extremely diverse areas of repertoire. Amazing in a way.
I always equate the orchestra to I suppose, 2 tennis players. You know, when you get a great tennis player at the top of his game, and someone comes along who's a new boy in the block, you know, he raises or she raises their game even higher. I think, you know, the more you throw at this orchestra, the more you just throw it right back at you. It's quite annoying, actually. You spend days on a cue, and you go, ha, 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 wait till we hear this. I'm like, oh, whatever. You know, you go, it's infuriating.
There isn't an organized orchestra in the world that's associated itself with film to any near the degree that the LSO has done.
They give their heart and soul to whatever they play.
It's exemplary, really, what the orchestra has done. Probably not even going way back in the 30s when the LSO began to record film scores. They probably never had this longevity in mind and their contribution to the newly emerging art of music synchronization with film. But over the years they've stayed with it and continued to contribute in the highest level like no other orchestra has done. It's amazing.